Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of Cocoa in the Sun podcast. I am your host, Malika Critchlow, and I am incredibly blessed to be here today, um, to live in this moment, to experience this moment, to share with you, to grow with you, to learn with you. Feeling very grateful for that. So, today we're going to continue with the Magdalene Manuscript, The Alchemies of Horus, and Sex Magic of Isis. Um, yeah, excited to continue with that. Just see where that takes us. The energies have been really I don't know how to describe it. Feels like something good is coming, but don't know what or how. Saturday and Friday, I was feeling a lot of divine feminine energy, beautiful, loving, gentle, but strong energy, love energy. Um, I love it. Like I love that energy that was coming in. Yesterday, I had odd things happen throughout the day. But somehow it didn't disrupt my joy or my contentedness. I think I'm getting better at mastering myself. Fingers crossed. Um, Not that I wasn't like, it was like, consume, what is going on here? But also like still like pretty leveled, pretty good. Just trying to find a solution. Sometimes, most times the solution was found. Still haven't found a solution to something that happened earlier in the week, but maybe that solution is coming or it's saying something else. Don't know. Um, so yes. Also don't know like the weird things that happened yesterday. And I mean like stuff around the house, like doing weird stuff, like appliances or like car, uh this weird stuff. But out of not weird naturally like it would happen, but one, right? For it to be like four things in a row, yes, it was like one thing after the other, spread throughout the day, not like within the hour or anything like that. It was kind of like, oh, after I like solved one thing, something else came up to be solved. Um, but thank God, the angels, my guides, my eternal self was able to find a solution and move through. Um, I don't know if it had to do with because they said like six planets are aligned today that we would have been able to see it if it wasn't cloudy before dawn, in the darkness right before dawn. They said we'd be able to see it, but I did look outside and maybe in a telescope, but also we have a lot. We had rain today in Miami, so there's a lot of cloud cover this morning. Right now, it's a lot more sunny, but this morning was cloudy and overcast, so I don't know. That's why I didn't see it. But anyway, I don't know if those energies had something to do with what was happening. Yes, I have no idea. Yesterday was like odd day, but still like had joy. So I'm happy to know I can still experience joy in weird situations. Um, was a little like, what is where is my life heading? But still happy. I don't know. I really don't know. Um, the answers have not come yet. Been getting clarity and other things though. We're just going with the flow and knowing that stuff coming is supposed to come. Understand it's coming and it's supposed to come and ruling with that. But yeah, still like, what is going on? Where is this going? Sometimes excited to see like what will happen. And sometimes like, oh my God, what is going on? You know, where am I going with this? So I do, whenever I get there though, I do get synchronicities and little nudges of good things to come, which is awesome. Doesn't say when particularly. When I do get time things, it don't say time things for what. So, but this whole thing is really enjoyable. I feel like the stuff that I'm getting in pieces, but not getting the whole picture, one may have to do with how much I have cleared. I think that has to do with how much I'm able to comprehend or connect or no, I think that somehow related to your healing is related to understanding. I don't know if I'm getting bits and pieces because my healing is in bits and pieces, or if I have cleared more, I don't know. I wish I could connect more and get more clear messages. But yeah, so I don't know when things are going to happen. When I do get time things, it'll be random time things that don't say what it was. So I'll hear something like next week or in a dream, right? Right before we wake up, or in 20 days, or 4 years ago, or in 4 years. Like, okay, what though? Like, I don't know. I have no, I'm just giving you all random things, right? But so that's how the time things come without what is the time thing for. And then the other things that that I want to know about, they don't tell me the time. So where's my life going? Is this podcast meant to be? Should I continue the podcast or not continue the podcast? I'm going to continue because I love doing it. It's just for my own enjoyment. But you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, but then, okay, so then last night I see a beautiful pathway with lush, trees and shrubs, vegetation, just enough shade and just enough sun. It was really beautiful right before that. So like, I'm on the right path. Yeah, but I'm enjoying it, except for the times when I start to worry about, well, what if it goes left? Because I really don't know where it's going. Wondering. Most times I do try to stay in a positive mindset. And when I do veer off course, I do get like little synchronicities that let me know um not exactly what's gonna happen, but like um good things are coming. All right. So I might see a symbol or something that I perceive as a good thing out of the blue and then place that's not ordinary for me to see it. Or let me see a movie that relates a lot with how I grew up or my situation or relationships I've had. Um, I don't know. Give me one moment. Sorry, guys. I am cooking as I'm doing this podcast. Today I woke up and I felt like baked rice, callaloo, stewed chicken with some jake seasoning and potato salad. So I went for my walk today at the park, which was actually gorgeous with beautiful iguanas and lizards and birds. The macaws, I don't know where they've gone. I don't hear them anymore, I see them, but still they have other beautiful birds and stuff that we see. Um, squirrels, ducks. The ducks are having so many babies. Oh my God, you just seen the mommy ducks at all? They're like 10 ducklings. More than one mommy duck, like quite a few. Some of them have them in the water, some of them just have them under the trees, relaxing. So it was really nice walk. And the trees are just gorge at the park. They have like such beautiful flowers, like there was reds and pinks and yellows. Of course, I'm on all the green. It's really nice. And now the route that we take now in the park is one that's like a lot of shaded trees. So we get like sun and trees. It's just perfect for like walking. Even though it's really hot. Miami has been like super hot. So we're being careful not to be like dehydrated and stuff like that and to walk in the cool, but still get some sun because you still need that sun, still need that vitamin D. I was laughing at vitamin D. It was so stupid. But anyways, so yeah, we're going to continue with the Magdalene Manuscript. We left off, she wanted to give us some information, some secrets of all time. So we're gonna see what she has to say about these secrets. Okay, all right. So 11. The alchemies of Horus refer to a body of knowledge and methods for the alteration of the car body. In this understanding, as the car embodies or acquires greater energy and light, there is an increase in one's magnetic field. And that which the initiate desires becomes more quickly manifest. Okay, so I'm trying to think if they say this in the other two books. I know they talk about the car body in both books, right? And they do have two different types of exercises on how to breathe and visualize to bring energy from the earth and the galaxies into the car body. Through the central column, right? The column of, well, I forget what the column they call it, but that column that runs through your body. So both books talk about it, and both books talk about how the car body affects other aspects of your body, like it gives the health to your physical body, your mental and emotional body, causal, ethereal, it affects all. So they always focus on the car body because the car body is so pivotal to other aspects of yourself. But I can't remember if any of them ever say that when it acquires greater energy and light, there's an increase in one's magnetic field and that which the initiate desire becomes more quickly manifest. I don't remember that. I remember they're talking about intentioning. I remember they're talking about loving and being, your emotions being pivotal, emotions and feelings being pivotal to your mastery. Trying to think if they, I don't remember this, but I could be wrong. I'm gonna highlight it though in blue. Anybody know about the blue rays? I'm really interested in blue rays. Blue ray starseed. Does anybody know anything? Can share anything? Get really connected to it. Anyways, however, in surrender to one's own celestial soul, or the Ba, the pursuit of personal desires, although not abandoned, is no longer the focus of one's entire existence. Instead, one looks upward, so to speak, to the higher capabilities of oneself as perceived through the Ba or the celestial soul. So they're saying, like, once you surrender to your soul, or the pursuit of your personal desires, they're not abandoned, but it's not like your entire existence anymore. The celestial solar bar exists within a much higher level of vibration than the physical body, the cat, or the car, the spiritual etheric twin to the physical form. Within the car, there are pathways that can be stimulated and opened. The activation of the secret passages within the car brings it much greater power. The alchemies of Horus are designed to strengthen these, to activate the latent powers and abilities of the initiate through what is called the DJED, D-J-E-D. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Or the ascending seven seals that the yogis and yoginis of India call the chakras. So basically, the alchemies of Horus are designed to strengthen and activate latent powers and abilities of the initiate through the chakras. I'm just highlighting that, guys. That's cool. So the latent powers and abilities are in the development of the chakras. How do you develop these chakras? They said, also they mentioned 7 seals. Oh, the seals, the 7 seals are the 7 chakras. So the root chakra, sacral chakra, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, and crown. Those are 7 seals, 7 chakras. Within the school in which I was trained, we learned how to activate the serpent power, moving it in specific parts in the spinal column and opening up circuits within the brain. This created what is called the ureus. Ureus. I want to Google ureus and see what that is. Ureus. Oh, it's a snake, a representation for a sacred serpent as an emblem of supreme power worn on the headdresses of ancient Egyptian deities and sovereigns. Let me see if I have pictures. Like that. They call that the Uranus. Oh. My friend just texted me. I was thinking about her today, how she was doing, and she just said, "Hey, how you doing?" Don't you love when that happen? I'll call her after, but the uveitis is often a blue fire that extends up the spine, both laterally and horizontally, and into the brain, and it undulates with the changes in energy within these pathways. Oh, the activation of the uveitis increases the brain's potential for intelligence, creativity, and most importantly, receptivity for the task of the initiate is to change the quality of one's being so that the attunement of the bar of celestial soul is clear and unobstructed. That's cool, no? The blue flame moves up the spine horizontally and laterally, horizontally and laterally. Anyway, when I met Yeshua by the well for the first time, the mere proximity of his presence activated my internal alchemies. A serpent power moved up my spine as if I had practiced the disciplines I had learned. The first night when we were together alone, arm in arm, lying next to each other, we practiced the sexual magic of Isis. This specific form of magic charges the car body with tremendous magnetic force through the power of physical orgasm. For when one has a sexual orgasm, there is a tremendous release of magnetic energy within the cells. As this energy spreads, it releases a magnetic potential that can be used I wish to share the specifics of this, but in order to do so, I must explain more of the basic understanding of sex and spiritual realization, for this secret was stolen by the church. This underlining. 14. When I, an initiate of Isis, joined together with Yeshua, there were specific pathways I had to open within myself. I was stunned, however, to discover that many of these pathways were spontaneously opening in his presence. I mentioned at the beginning of the story how I trembled as a woman, having to struggle with my own passions and desires. For the path of the initiate is to use the energy of passion in a highly specific way, and not to simply be carried off by it. For alchemy requires that energy be contained so that it can be transformed. Very quickly, Yeshua and I achieved the state, what is known as the four serpents. This occurs when both have mastered the internal alchemies of Horus, so to the extent that they can activate both the solar and the lunar serpents within their spines. Clairvoyantly, there is a central channel that runs up through the spine. And to the left, there is a lunar circuit, and to the right, there is a solar circuit called the Ida and the Pingala by the yogas and the yoginis. In the alchemies of Horus, one causes these two circuits to be activated by magnetic fields that are snake-like. The lunar snake on the left side, it's pitch black, the color of the void. So indeed, it is the embodiment of the void itself and holds the potential as the creatrix of all things. The solar serpent is gold. An initiate causes these two serpents to rise upward. As they rise upward, they pierce the chakras that cross over each other. I'm sorry. Maybe that one. As the initiate causes the two serpents to rise upward, and initiate causes the serpent to rise upward. As they rise upward, they pierce the chakras and cross over each other. In the alchemy of Horus, these two serpents cross each other through the fifth seal or throat and all seals beneath. They then face each other at an area approximately where the pineal gland is, or the center of the head. Here, a chalice is envisioned with the pineal gland at the very bottom of the chalice itself. The pineal. So the chalice would be up here, and this is the bottom. These two serpents are living in that they are not static, but vibrate and scintillate and ripple with energy. And the writhing of their bodies within the car activates an increase of magnetic potential. There are specific practices which I will share at a later time, but what I wish to address in this moment is the practice of the four serpents. When Yeshua and I made love, as you call it, we caused the serpents to rise up our spines, up our digit. We did this simultaneously, and at the moment of mutual orgasm, the charge released from the first seal in the pelvic areas of our bodies was sent upward into the throne, which is the upper part of the head, stimulating the higher brain centers. At the same time, during this moment of sexual ecstasy, we place our awareness fully within our car bodies, for the car is strengthened by ecstasy. Ecstatic states are nourishing and strengthening to the car body. And as I said earlier, with each strengthening of the car, it becomes more magnetic, drawing to the initiate that which he or she desires. The sexual magic of Isis has to do with the innate ability of the feminine being to utilize magnetic energies to open deeper levels of consciousness through the act of surrendering to the sexual energies and pathways that are opened. When a woman is deeply loved and appreciated, as was I by Yeshua, something lets go at the deepest level of herself. And at the moment of orgasm, there is an uncontrollable shuddering that takes place. If she feels safe and allows the shaking, this quivering to overtake her, there is a tremendous magnetic vortex that opens, the center of which is in her womb. Two initiates engaged in the sexual magic of Isis can strengthen themselves and rapidly expand their consciousness through the power of this magnetic field. Give me one moment. I have to check the pots. Chicken coming out good though. Coming out good, y'all. Wait till eat. Okay. So in the advanced practices of the sexual magic of Isis, the male initiate causes both of his serpents to rise through the car body of the female, and the female causes her two serpents to rise through the car body of the male. The explosive power of this practice is like the energy released by an atom bomb. The massive tidal waves of magnetics can strengthen the car beyond imagination or destroy it if not handled properly. Yeah. So like you imagine your serpents in your body going through his body. I really like this blue highlighter. It was this advanced practice of the car. It was this advanced practice of the car that the Ashura engaged that night before the Garden of Gethsemane. For him, this tremendous increase of magnetic potential within his car strengthened him for his hardships and for the tasks that faced him in his final initiation through the portal of death, so that when his physical body dissolved into its constituent elements, it was done so in a flash of light and heat that the church calls the resurrection. But this was simply an effect of something that was occurring much deeper within him. It was caused by the magnetics of his car body, for it was through this potentized car that he journeyed through his underworld through death itself. My eye is scratching me. Okay, so let me read that again. It was this advanced practice of the car that Yeshua engaged that night before the Garden of Gethsemane. For him, this tremendous increase of magnetic potential within his car strengthened him for his hardships and for the task that faced him in his final initiation through the portal of death, so that when his physical body dissolved into its constituent elements, it was done so in a flash of light and heat that the church calls the resurrection. But this was simply an effect of something that was occurring much deeper within him. It was caused by the magnetics of his car body, for it was through his potentized car that he journeyed through his underworld, through death itself. As Yeshua and I engaged the sexual practices of Isis in our relationship, we both understood that this was the purpose. For him, each union with me was a means to strengthen his car. This is why I said earlier that he came to my well, For the well that the woman initiate offers to the male is an endless well of magnetic potential. But it is only opened when the female feels safe and loved. Only then will the practice work. For the practices without the nurturance of love become just techniques and will not give the result required or desired. For me, I was both woman and initiate. I had been trained for years and knew what to do with the pathways, but I was surprised to find myself swept away as a woman. I found myself waiting in deepest anticipation for a look or touch by Yeshua, and our times together alone were the most precious times I had ever experienced. Something about his touch and his eyes, the feel of him, caused something within me to open, and I found myself sometimes almost laughing at myself. I, who had been trained in the most secret practices of the sex magic of Isis and had been judged by my predecessors to be very advanced, this initiate found herself a mere beginner in the presence of the woman. For I tell you now that within the heart and the mind and the body wisdom of the feminine lies some of the greatest secrets and greatest powers, and they await to be revealed. And all of this is laid open by the touch of another. Hey. And so whenever I speak of Yeshua, I am overcome by my love and the feelings that I hold for him throughout all time. Amazing. I love it. I love it. I love it. I really, really love it. I love it. So she's saying that she's trained in the sex magic, but when she talks to herself as a woman, a beginner as a woman, because she was in love with this man and the emotions that came with it, she was like a beginner because she didn't know nothing about those emotions. She knew how to do the practice, but the emotions, the love, the desires that came with it, the passion. That was new to her, so she had to maneuver that with the techniques. Hello. Sacred union, child. Okay. The sex magic of Isis is based upon the realization that the feminine principle holds within her nature, specifically her sexual nature, an alchemical key. This alchemical key is revealed in the act of what you call love, sexual love. When this is activated strongly enough, the alchemies of Horus spontaneously present themselves. Within my training, it was understood that there were two parts, alchemically speaking, to the same goal. The alchemies of Horus were the foundation of both alchemies or practices, since the same fundamental pathways were used. For those who did not wish to engage in partnership, the alchemies of Horus would provide a means to strengthen and activate the car body to the levels of high initiation. For those in partnership, the sexual magic of Isis would provide the wings by which they would ascend the Djed and enter the throne of highest consciousness. I do not know if I'm pronouncing Djed correctly. It's spelled D-J-E-D. I don't know. From my vantage point, I see a great tragedy in that the secrets and the holiness of our sexual natures are made evil by the church of fathers. And for nearly 2,000 years now, the most dynamic and one of the most rapid ways to God realization has been made wrong. And I find it indeed ironic that the church has made it a sin and therefore terrified those who might have stumbled upon it. While the miracles of Yeshua are considered extraordinary by many, they are from the standpoint of the initiate simply the expression, the natural expressions of the potential of consciousness. They are a sign. There are reasons for miracles, and I wish to discuss these from the standpoint of the initiatory knowledge that Yeshua and I possessed. By the time I met Yeshua, he was already demonstrating the signs. His level of creation was very high. My task was to assist him to strengthen his car body for his final initiation through the death portal to the high god Horus. This was accomplished, as I have said, through the sex magic of Isis and the alchemies of Horus. Of all the miracles that I witnessed Yeshua perform, the one that is most dear to me is that of the loaves and the fishes. Hold on. It was a very long, hot day. The disciples, Mary, and myself were following the Master as usual. A very large crowd formed, listening intently upon every word from Yeshua's mouth. We were all enraptured by his vision and his means of expressing. It was as if for several hours we were transported into heaven itself. And I noticed that Yeshua's car had expanded to include everyone. Another sign. When he had completed his speaking, it was late in the afternoon, and filled with compassion for them, realizing that their walk home would take some of them several days, he called upon food to be gathered and shared. So the disciples, Mary and I, and a few others who joined us from the crowd began to collect food. But when it was all gathered, there were only a few fishes and a few small loaves of bread, hardly enough. It was then that I witnessed a most remarkable event. Yeshua went inside and closed his eyes. I could feel the intent of his prayer, although I did not hear his words. Running the full course of his dijad, from the base of his spine to the top of his head, I clairvoyantly saw a burst of light flowing upwards through his crown into his bar, his celestial soul. And then an energy descended as if in answer to his request, and he placed his hands over the two small baskets and began to hand out the loaves and fishes, breaking them into pieces and handing one to each person himself. It was most remarkable. Over 1,000 people were fed, and the loaves and fishes never exhausted themselves. After the crowd had been fed, Yeshua gave pieces to his disciples and to Mary and myself. And the bread had the most sweet taste, and the fish a wonderful flavor I have never experienced again. Such miracles are natural to a master of Yeshua's caliber. And from the initiatory standpoint, such miracles are the potential of anyone if they practice what is required. Yeshua often used the phrase, I and the Father are one. This has led to great misinterpretation. For from the initiatory standpoint, it is simply another word for spirit. And in these words, Yeshua was indicated that he merged with his spirit, and that is how the miracles were accomplished. And so he would go back and forth between two ideas, which the Gospels report in their own limited way. On the one hand, Yeshua would sometimes say, I and the Father are one. At other times, he would say, without my Father, I can do nothing. This is the oscillation that occurs with the initiatory process, in which the initiate oscillates between the strength and conviction of his or her connection to the spirit source, and then to the other state of mind in which they realize that they are nothing and can do nothing without spirit. So the one state of mind is a feeling of omnipotence, and the other state of mind is a feeling of impotence. And the initiate must pass between these two. That Yeshua used these phrases several times indicated to me, as a fellow initiate, that he was in the middle of this paradox. So I guess sometimes he feels as omnipotent as the Father, as the Spirit, and sometimes he knows he's nothing without it. So he goes between omnipotence and impotence. I think both are humbling. And also, like, this universe is a complete paradox. Everything is a paradox. Everything. And he lived with this paradox in consciousness until the Garden of Gethsemane. For it was before his time in the garden, as reported by his disciples, that he came to me and we practiced the 4 serpents for the last time. There was an intensity in our time together, for we both knew that the time was near at hand. With the explosive force released with the practice, Yeshua's car body scintillated with power and conviction, which he took with him into the final hours of his life, fortifying him for his journey through death. But the times before were often spent, I searched for the right words, in a kind of self-questioning. Those who follow Yeshua, who call themselves Christians, like to think that he was sure-footed and always clear about his purpose and mission, and that he never wavered. But I, who spent the nights with him, tell you otherwise. Just because a being has attained a level of mastery does not mean that they are able to pass through uncertainty untouched. Yeshua felt the pressure of his celestial soul, but it is an odd feeling being an initiate, for one is human with all that goes with it, and one is increasingly connected to and a part of one's celestial soul. It is the Ba, the celestial soul, that is the voice of God speaking. The high initiate acts like a reflex with the mouth of God. But just because the celestial soul is clear does not mean that the human is necessarily so. Yeshua saw in others the potential for God realization, and he spoke to this several times. One of these was mentioned in the Gospels when he said, "You shall do greater things than me." For he understood that miracles are a natural expression of consciousness, and that as the consciousness of mankind expanded, miracles would be commonplace. And yet, at the same time, he was very aware of the limitation of those around him, of their addiction to hatred, ignorance, and bigotry. And this troubled him deeply. We spent many evenings talking about this. And until a few days before Gethsemane, he was not sure if he could attain what was required to pass through the final initiation. I do not know the reason for the change in him, but a few days before the garden and our final initiatory act together through the 4 serpents, a deep sense of peace came over him, and he was sure in a way I had never seen him. I stand in time nearly 2,000 years after Yeshua's crucifixion, and still I shake at the thought of it. It was very strange to be both initiate and woman. As the initiate, I stood by Yeshua through the crucifixion, holding my car in fervent prayer, which is another way of saying I held steadfast in my intention to be there for him as he passed into death. This was an initiatory action on my part that required detachment. As a trained initiate, such a task was easy, but as the woman in love with Yeshua, the man, my heart was ripped apart. And so I stood at Golgotha, wavering in my strength as an initiate, and my grief as the woman in love whose beloved was suffering. In that moment, I did not care for the initiation. I did not care that Yeshua was laying a trail of light through the death realms for all those who would follow him. I even yelled at Isis. "How dare you?" I said. In the greatest moment of my torment, Mary reached out and touched my hand. I had been alone in my grief and had not noticed hers. Our eyes met, filled with tears, and we sobbed in each other's arms. For her son and I, she for her son and I for my beloved. The Gospels report that an earthquake struck right after Yeshua's passing. And I say to you that this is true. For it was as if all of nature went into travail and the earth shook with anger and rage, that such a master, such a being could suffer at the hands of his fellow man. And such is the paradox of life on earth. A great storm came across the city as well, winds like I had not seen, the sky filled with dark clouds and bolts of lightning. the sound of thunder shaking everything. This horrific display lasted, it seemed, forever, and I suspect it was only for an hour or so. At the tomb, Mary and I washed his body in accordance with Jewish ritual tradition, wrapped him, and left the tomb. We did this in silence. The only sound, the sound of our muffled tears. I thought it odd that he had been able to raise Lazarus from the dead, but had not been able to help himself. I did not understand what he was doing, but after his resurrection, and I saw him in the car, radiant and beautiful as ever, I understood. From the initiatory standpoint, to become the high god Horus means that one has activated the highest potentials of consciousness within the human form. But this was traditionally done by one's self only. But Yahshua had done it on behalf of all mankind. This is his legacy. But I say to you, it has nothing to do with religion. It has to do with physics and alchemy. The simple teaching of Yeshua was that we are all gods, that we all have within us the power to love and to heal. And he demonstrated this as best he could. In the early days of the church, meaning the community of those who formed around Yeshua's teaching, a beautiful ritual emerged. Those who wished to continue to be in his energy or presence would share bread and wine. Sometimes the men would share the ritual, and sometimes the women. This simple act of sharing among each other was in keeping with Yeshua's intent. And yet, as the years progressed, the simplicity of this got lost, and only those ordained by the church could give communion, something which Yeshua would find most distasteful. Having known him as well as I did, I can tell you this. The truth and power of Yeshua's teaching has been perverted by the church, and the secrets of the elevation of consciousness through sacred sex, as was practiced by I and Yeshua, has been stolen by the church. I realize in the sharing of my story that only a handful will understand, but this is enough. But that is enough. So we're going to stop there today, because in the next one, she says, I wish to now reveal some of the secrets of the sex magic of Isis. So I think we'll start that next podcast. We'll talk about what secrets, again, she wants to share about the sex magic of Isis. But oh, what a reading today. We went through how he built his car, how the woman is essential for that, how it comes through love and surrender and feeling safe with your beloved in order for the woman to open up in that way, to share that magnetic potential, that void, that creatrix with her beloved, to build both their cars. We learned about the crucifixion and how the sacred sex assisted him prior to be able to do that, because it helped build his car with the four sequence method. I mean, I really love that they focused that love was like important in order for the opening, because otherwise it would just be techniques and you wouldn't get the desired result. I mean, how beautiful is it? Huh? It makes you want it. So yes, that's beloved person that you can feel safe with and open up to in that way and grow together in consciousness. Oh my God. She says it opens up like passages in the brain for intelligence. Hello. Hello. It allows for miracles to occur, which is just a progression of your consciousness evolving. I mean, in the opening of the 7 seals, which are the 7 chakras. So we learned a lot today. I found it very interesting and exciting. Yeah. Something to look forward to as we meet the people that are meant to be in our lives. we all have a beloved? I wonder if everyone has a beloved. Anyways, hope you have a great day. I hope you know that you are loved and that you are loved, that you're gentle with yourself, that you try to understand yourself and honor yourself and your feelings and try to find out more about yourself so you can love more about yourself and accept more about yourself. This is what helps change everything, right? Yeah. So have a great day. Bye, guys.